Hello. So apologies, I'm not quite sure why the part 2 video ended as abruptly as it did, but oh well, here we are back, and hopefully I'll be able to get everything into this part 3 video that still needs to be discussed before you move on. So just to kind of recap quickly, we were talking about questions that possibly would lead you to a dead end instead of to a good arguable thesis. Um, in everyday use in Lamont Goes African, we see two young people during the Black Power movement in conflict with their parents about what heritage means. Again, it's not going to work as a thesis, or at least as a literary analysis thesis. Maybe we should clarify that point. It's not going to work for a literary analysis thesis because it's not arguable, it's not debatable. It's simply leading to summary. Right? We already know what happens or what the story's about. Okay, let's see if it'll let me advance here. All right, well, here's another example of a bad thesis. Now, let's say you wanted to maybe focus on how symbolism works in the two stories. And we have a lot of items that represent the idea of heritage and how they're used, how they're discussed. So let's say we had something like this. Both the quilts in everyday use and the dashiki in Lamont Goes African symbolize the idea of heritage. What's wrong with that? Again, not a good thesis idea. The idea itself, of course, is true. It's just that it's, again, what can I say, right? It's not arguable in any way. So probably not the most effective route for you to go. Okay, I'm having a little bit of an issue with getting this to advance. There we go. So I apologize about that, but usually when you get a video from me, you're going to get it warts and all because I just don't have the patience to go back and re-record every little flub and every little mistake. I always tell students you're pretty much going to get what you would get in the classroom because I just don't have a world of patience with that. I do see that I'm running out of juice there, so I may need to plug my computer in. But while I'm doing that, look at the slide there because what I'm giving you here, these are some options for how to take those bad thesis ideas and how to make them into something that would be workable. And a lot of times, guys, that comes back to that why factor. Okay, so instead of just thinking about a factual statement, consider why that statement might be true. So if you look at this one, for example, again, if you wanted to talk about the quilts, the dashiki, instead of both the quilts in everyday use and the dashiki in Lamont Goes African symbolize the idea of heritage, I suggested try this. Both the quilts that the siblings fight over in everyday use and the dashiki that Lamont adopts in Lamont Goes African are symbolic of an idea that is central to both stories. Heritage is not simply a fashion statement. All right, and that goes back to, remember what did Olaiya when she lectured Lamont? She said, the clothes you can put on and take off, it's the heart you must change. Well, even though that statement is not used verbatim in everyday use, it comes down to the same principle, right? Dee, until she can learn to change her heart, she can adopt all the Africanisms, the names, the styles. She can hang the quilts on her wall. But until she changes who she is inside, none of that is going to matter. And that in essence is the message of both stories. Okay, took me a minute there, but we finally got it to advance. All right. Um, but that is going to bring us to your assignment for today. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. Generate a list of 3 to 5 questions that are about both everyday use and Lamont Goes African. All right, no less than 3, no more than 5. That should give you a good solid number to work with. For each question, I want you to provide a response in 1 to 2 sentences that serves as your answer to your own question. Here's what I would recommend you do, guys. Remember, I said initially for that brainstorming process, just generate as many questions as you can come up with. So you might come up with 10, 15, 20 questions. That's okay. I would do that separately outside the assignment. Just do that separately. Come up with your list of questions. I don't need to see those. But once you get your list generated, go through that list and see which ones you can confidently answer. And then narrow it down to your 3 to 5 questions. Those would be the ones that you would include when you upload your assignment. All right. So I'm just looking for, after you've gone through that weeding process, I'm looking for those final 3 to 5 questions that you've limited yourself to. And then for each question, provide a response in 1 to 2 sentences that serves as your answer to your own question. Now, my plan is, once I see that you've done the assignment, I'm going to go in there and I'll give you your score, your points for doing it, but I'm not planning to give you any feedback in Blackboard itself. Because what I'm going to do is, when we meet on Monday, I'm just going to be calling you all up to come up and conference with me, and we're going to talk about your responses. And or I started to say I might put them on the screen, but actually, given the technology issues we've got in our room, that may not work. I'll probably just do one-on-one conferences with you guys. But that's where you'll get your feedback. So we'll kind of go through and look at, okay, these are the questions that you have. These are the ones I think maybe would give you the best material for coming up with your thesis. So that's the plan. Hopefully we should be able to get through everybody. It'll depend, of course, on actual attendance that day. But hopefully we'll be able to get to everybody on Monday and get your feedback for those. But that's what I want you to do today. So good luck with that. I'll look forward to seeing what you generate there. And I will plan to see you Monday. Bye bye.